What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the First Down Saints YouTube channel. Saints have a big Week 2 matchup against divisional opponent Carolina Panthers on Monday Night Football. Here's how I think it'll go. So it goes without saying, this is a pretty big game, right? I know it's only Week 2, but anytime you face a divisional opponent, it's a big game, especially when, you're in a division where it's probably going to end up in a toss-up at the end of the year, and each and every one of these games is super, super crucial for the end of the year playoffs. Now, the Saints kind of surprisingly have dropped 3 of the last 4 against the Carolina Panthers, including getting swept last year. And 2 of those 3 losses have come early in the season, one in 2021 and one in 2022, both with Jameis Winston at the helm at quarterback. Now, obviously, the Panthers have a completely different coaching staff than they've had the last couple years, but still, anytime you drop 3 of the last 4 to your divisional opponent, that's never a good thing, giving them confidence going into this one. And if you remember last year, the Week 17, the very last game of the season against the Panthers, that might have been one of the most pathetic losses I've ever seen by a Saints team. Sam Darnold was awful in that game. I can't even remember his stats, but there was no way you look at his stats, that team stats, and think that the Carolina Panthers won that game. It was just horrible all around, but forget about that. The Saints defense is going to be tasked with stopping number 1 overall pick Bryce Young in this one. I reckon Dennis Allen will use a lot of man coverage against the Panthers. The Panthers receivers aren't that great. You got an older Adam Thielen and DJ Chark as their top 2 receivers. Hayden Hurst as a tight end is not a bad option. But if you watched their game last week against the Falcons, their receivers got absolutely no separation. And Dennis Allen is a big fan of man coverage, so I imagine that's what we'll see for the most part against the Panthers and those receivers. I think Dennis Allen will also mix in a few exotic looks on big third downs against the young quarterback. Get it, young quarterback. And as far as the Saints offense goes, it's simple. Protect the quarterback. You got Brian Burns on the edge, one of the best edge defenders in the league. And you also have Derek Brown there at defensive tackle, young up-and-coming star in the league who looked great against the Falcons last week against Lindstrom, who's one of the best guards in the league. So Eric McCoy, James Hurst, and Cesar Ruiz are going to have their hands full as well. But I think those 3 interior guys will show up to play and play well against him. It's all a matter of Penning can hold up against Brian Burns. Now, I do imagine the Saints will give him a lot more help than they did last week with, Taysom and Moreau chipping, or at least they would if they're smart. Derek Carr has a winning record of 6-4 on Monday Night Football. That doesn't really mean much, but it's, nice to see. I think he'll have another big game, throwing it to Mike Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, and Chris Olave, sprinkling some Jawan Johnson in there. It does look like rookie Kendre Miller is going to be making his debut, which is a good thing because last week the Saints run game was completely non-existent, and that's not all on Jamal Williams. The offensive line was just not good at all. Also on the defensive side of the ball, with Peyton Turner now out for probably the rest of the year, it looks like it's going to be Kyle Phillips and Isaiah Foskey, the second-round pick, stepping up. So I'm really curious to see how those guys do. Now, obviously, Carl Granderson, he's the man, right? He's the starter. He played really good last week against the Tennessee Titans. So if he can repeat that performance, then I think the Saints will be fine this year at defensive end. But I am really curious and eager to see how Foskey does after, a pretty lackluster preseason. But overall, like I said, I think this is going to be another dominant performance from the Saints defense. I look for the cornerbacks to completely smother the Panthers wide receivers. I think the Saints start hot and go up a couple possessions and pretty much ride the game out for a smooth sailing victory. I'm going to say 28-14 Saints win. And that's my prediction for the game Monday night. As usual, if you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. If not, that's cool too. Just appreciate you guys watching. Until next time, peace.